Good afternoon, everyone. It's office hours, and I am super excited because I actually have two of my mentors with me today, and that's a rarity for sure to have the incredible Blaine Bartlett co-hosting with me. And it says he's moving possibilities into reality. He's a world business consultant working with some of the biggest companies and biggest chairmen and CEOs in the world. So it's apropos that we have one of the biggest and best that I know, and most forgiving, by the way. We were just joking around backstage that I have not screwed up that bad in a while. And why, when you screw up, Dave Liniger, is it always with the most important people or your biggest opportunities? So I'm going to start there. As chairman of RE/MAX, with thousands and thousands of employees that you have dealt with over the years, and the extreme growth and value that you provided for decades and decades, not to age you. I'm going to start there. What do you think it is we choke in the biggest moments sometimes?
Oh, I don't know. It happens to everybody. And you better have a sense of humor, because if you don't, you're going to be angry at yourself a lot.
That's for sure. Blaine.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, I was just kind of looking at the show prompts and whatnot, and the fact that what you've done with RE/MAX, first of all, just from a professional perspective, I think is just extraordinary. And there's an and for me here that I think is really useful to play with. You've lived an incredibly full life outside of just the professional domain that you're actually noted for in a lot of professional circles. So the question here has to do with, from an entrepreneurial perspective, how have you actually been able to, and I mean this very literally, been able to marry these two parts of living in life? Because, I mean, you've got over 3,000 dives as a scuba diver. You've hunted, you camped, I mean, all of this stuff that you've done. I mean, it resonates with me because I've got a lot of stuff in my life that I've done here, but I'm very curious about how have you kept that balance in play here?
Well, when I was a young boy growing up in Marion, Indiana, in a cornfield, my father was a businessman, but he sharecropped the property out. And I looked at my father, I was adopted, and I said, why do we live in a place like this? It's muddy, it's dirty. We don't even have deer or anything in our forest or anything. And I said, why do we live here? And he said, well, it's where our family is. It's where our business is. My parents were, and my grandparents, and it's our church and our schools. And I said, well, Dad, we've been to Florida. That's a beautiful place. And we went to the Grand Canyon and Arizona and went to California. And we can have friends and neighbors and a church and places like that are nice. And my father was a real gentleman. He only swore once in his life, and that was at me, but that's another story. And so he said, look, son, you live in my house, you eat my food, you do exactly what I tell you to do until you turn about 18. Then you can do anything you want. And I said, Dad, when I'm out of here, I'm out of here. I'm never coming back. I'm going to go fly airplanes. I'm going to jump out of airplanes. I'm going to scuba dive. I'm going to hunt and fish. I'm going to drive race cars. I'm going to be a pilot. And I'm just going to make life a ball. And he said, well, good luck to you. And I turned 18 in a place called Vietnam. I sent my father back a letter, and I said, Dad, I'll tell you what, there's tanks, there's pythons, there's snakes, there's tigers, there's the enemy, there's airplanes and helicopters. This just beats the hell out of Marion, Indiana. And I ain't coming back.
Well,
talk about perspective.
You get great sense of humor from a young age. Everything I see, well, and now I understand about independence, which is the word for freedom. And your new book, The Perfect 10, is interesting because it really reconciles freedom in a variety of ways. Freedom of wealth, freedom with success, freedom of its own independence, that you somehow have a truth to be independent with. Your own truth seems to be a common denominator of your challenges in your life, your struggles, and as you talk about extreme wealth that you have, the huge successes, but you combine leadership principles and, freedom. You provided freedom for Blaine and I, Vietnam, Thailand, Texas, Arizona, in the Air Force. You have provided financial freedom to thousands of brokers and agents around the world, and also freedom to the people that bought the properties from your agents and brokers and feel good about the value and the information they received. I would love for you to share your perspective in this idea of perfection and leadership, how freedom is interrelated today with those principles.
David, a lot of people think money buys freedom. It can, but there are a lot of wealthy people that are very miserable.
Mm-hmm.
When I looked at the perfect 10, I'm giving life experiences. About 25% of the book was the mistakes that I made, the lessons that I learned, and how you come out on top by never quitting. But about 75% of the book is from things I've learned from others by looking at the founders of Apple, of Google, of Facebook, of Amazon, and looking at their philosophies and how they built their companies and what their mindset is. So I have a mentor, Darren Hardy, a very famous individual.
Yeah.
He mentioned to me one time, he says, "Do you know what my definition of success is?" And I said, "No, but I'm curious." And he says, "Success to me is basically, I want to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, with who I want to do it, where I want to do it, and when I want to do it." And it's those 5 things, that's independence. If you can come up with those 5 things, I won't hire people who are a stick in the mud. I won't hire mean people. They suck. I want nice, friendly, warm people that I'm looking forward to coming to the office with every day. I get requests for unending money, unending philanthropy, unending time requirements, 1,000 requests to speak a year. I can't do all those things. And I've taken that mantra down of those 5 things. And if I can't say those 5 things and say, hell yes, I'm not going to do it. That's independence.
Yeah.
I have to add one other lesson, Blaine, real quick, because you and I discussed it. Blaine does some mentoring with me, which is why I screw up all the time. But more importantly,
well, because I do mentoring with you.
I asked Dave, what's one of the biggest mistakes that you've made in all these years? He said, I thought it was a badge of honor to say that people had worked for me for like 30 years or for 35 years. He said, that's a huge mistake. And just so you know, Dave, you made my executive team extremely nervous because I kept repeating it to people. Well, what great advice to get rid of your executives. They've been here too long. But nonetheless, they're still around. I'll probably wait a couple more years before I get rid of them. I won't go 30 though. So thanks for the advice. Blaine, drive this perfect 10 home for us.
Wow, your other, you've got one book out now, but the Next Step book, this came after your MRSA and just coming out of the coma. What's next for you right now, Dave? Because you've got, again, I'm going to go back to, you've had a pretty good life here. You're pretty full, all kinds of things accomplished. What's next?
Well,
Dave Liniger.
I wish I could still have the youth and the body that I could do the adventure sports. I flew aerobatics. I own a fighter plane. I drove NASCAR for 10 years. I've done all these adventure sports, and unfortunately, the mind thinks I'm still 18 or 25 years old. The body proves it's not. So for me, a door closes. It doesn't mean the memories are gone. It just means that was a chapter of my life that I don't get to repeat. So what I like to do is I like to have an impact on people's lives. I have spent 51 years with my wife building the RE/MAX organization. We've literally helped change the lives of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of agents and brokers and franchisees. We were so young that for the last 10 or 20 years, the first people that we got involved with us are all now retiring or passing away. And it is a continuous influx of nice letters, messages, and so on. They're saying, I'm retiring after 42 years with you. You changed my life. This company has helped support my family. We have our health, we have our wealth, we have our kids, and that life is good. Thank you for everything you've done for me. And so I think as a legacy, being able to say that is pretty darn cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you. I think what's really cool is to meet an entrepreneur that's so humble, but has such an expansive self-image and confidence and faith and love and forgiveness, especially forgiveness in my case. Nobody better write a book called The Perfect 10, and giving us 10 leadership principles to live with and by and through. And your legacy is a living one. And please come back. Everyone, if you want to learn, if you want to get to where you want to be, find someone like Dave Liniger that sits in a situation you want to be in and ask him for directions. Luckily, he's put them in his book for all of us to live and to show upon. And his humility allows him to enjoy it well. He enjoys your success, my success, and other success more than I think he does his own, which makes me really look up to the mentors that I see here on the screen with me. Dave Liniger, please enjoy every single day. You deserve it. May freedom always follow you, those 5 directives. And thank you for giving us such freedom in our lives as well. You truly have changed the world. The chairman of RE/MAX, the co-founder of RE/MAX, the incredible Dave Liniger. Get that book, The Perfect 10. It's everywhere. So is he. We'll see you soon, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David.
Have a great day. Wow. I just
talk about
my gosh. They told me, Raluca sent over the notes. She said, by the way, Dave's coming on. He'll be the first guest. And I'm like, he's coming back? This is amazing. All right. It must be because Blaine's on. He wanted to meet Blaine. Nonetheless. what a great
he and
guy.
I can go fly aerobatics together.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to reread that book though. He's a great man. And like, it's just so cool. I wrote down those 5 things, about being able to have freedom of choice and options to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, how you want, etc. And it had nothing to do with money, which was great. And there's a will and a way to be abundant. And Dave Liniger shows us that. Anyway, I heard the weather's bad in Golden, Colorado. I heard they're canceling flights. They changed my flight to Tucson. It was coming from Colorado. Now it's coming from San Francisco. So hopefully our COO, Stephen Black of PFSbrands, is safe and sound in Colorado. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. I'm good. I am under about 36 inches of snow where I live.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, my dog, she wasn't crazy about that this morning when we went outside. So,
well, normally you'd be the biggest guest of the day. So it's just a lineup today to follow. Dave Liniger is not bad, but your remarkable career has been amazing. The brands, the success. 46 years, 20,000 plus people across 20 states. You would think that's big enough for this show on the day, but your new book, we have 10 principles from the Perfect 10. Now we have the 5 rules given us by the seasoned, successful Stephen Black. And it's called the 5 rules for your culture, for yourself, your team, and your family. It's really interesting to me because culture isn't talked about enough within the context of your life. And when we talk about you first, then we could talk about your team, your family. What is that culture that combines a culture for yourself, a culture for your team, but also includes your family?
Yeah, that's great, David. I appreciate you guys having me on today. And like you mentioned, I've spent 46 years in the grocery business and led thousands of people across multiple states. And after, I semi-retired about a year and a half, wrote the book a year and a half ago. And what I would tell you is that these are 5 expected behaviors. And they started out originally, I was in John Maxwell's inner circle about 8-10 years ago. And that's one of the things he challenged me with, was to come up with a set of 5 rules that I could really, lead from, coach from, and speak to. And one of the things I've noticed throughout my career is to your point on culture, most people just botch that up so bad. Culture is what you feel like on Sunday night when you got to go to work on Monday morning. That's the culture of your business. And so many times we don't spend time talking about that. And again, my journey throughout, several companies and leading people is, I always say, we're in the people business. We just happen to sell groceries. And I will tell you that these 5 rules are so foundational. They're easy to remember. The first time you hear them, you read them and talk about them. But I mean, we put wristbands on with the 5 rules on them. So they're a commitment band. We have a drama towel so that we can eliminate the drama from our lives. We hang this towel up outside.
Rule number 4. I got to send that to my middle child.
So I have that hanging up outside here on my garage entry, and I reach over there and wipe my work drama on that towel when I get home, and I come into my house and I'm present. And same way when I leave, I wipe my home drama on that towel, and I go to work and do my job, which is rule number 1. Do your job. So anyway, I was fortunate enough to have John endorse my book in the front of it. So he really speaks so much about how you go from success to significance, and you want to help people in a way they never could have imagined. And that's what he did for me. I would have never imagined that he would endorse my book, and he was more than happy to do it. But that's what he teaches at the Maxwell Leadership Companies is really, it is all about people. And I will tell you, my Oklahoma version of how to treat people is treat people how you want your mother treated, your father treated, your wife treated, your husband treated, your kids treated. And you know what? You're probably going to be a pretty good leader if you'll do that.
Yeah, love that. Culture and identity kind of get commingled here. So, the family's got an identity. When you think of a family, you got kind of a placeholder for it. Same with a company. It's kind of like, well, who are you? Well, this is the kind of people we are, that sort of thing. And if you take the word identity, I started playing with this a little bit ago, just, where'd that word come from? And it's a mashup of 2 Latin words, one that has to do with beingness. The other one has to do with repetition. So identity becomes beingness, repeated beingness. Yep. So when you're looking at these 5 rules, my guessing here, and I haven't read the book, Steve, I'm going to be getting a copy of it. But these 5 rules are ways to they're the ways to repeat my beingness over time. Would that be a good assessment?
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, they started out being my 5 rules. Yeah. So, and real quickly, simply, 1 is do your job. 2 is be kind. 3 is no surprises. 4 is no drama. And 5 is protect the brand. And again, you'll be able to go into the more details, in the book. But the way I wrote the book was I went over rule number 1, do your job. And then I wrote 5 life lessons on how to do your job, only better. Nice. And rule number 2 is be kind. And I wrote 5 life lessons on how to be kinder. And again, that's my leadership style, is I take common everyday things that happen, tell the story, and then turn it into a leadership nugget and teaching. And so the first commitment was for me. If I don't go by these rules and follow these rules, they don't work.
Yep.
So I'm going to go by these rules first. And second, if you're on my team, I'm going to expect you to go by these rules. And when we don't, you have freedom to call me out. I have freedom to call you out. And that's how it works. And then, of course, the bonus is they work at home. You ever try to get the kids to get their room cleaned up, get their homework done, clean up after themselves? If they're wearing a wristband that says do your job, it's real easy to have a non-threatening conversation. Hey, you committed to do your job. And part of your job is to make your bed when you get up in the morning, get to the breakfast table, pick up after yourself, and then go to school and have a good day. That's how these things come to life. And they really will come to life. Every rule will come to life in every relationship you have at a different time, in a different place, and under different circumstances. Yep. And that's why I think they're successful.
I love 5 simple rules, but how to do them better is even better. Real quickly, because I know we're going over time, but you're so incredible. I think we're going to change Golden, Colorado to Golden Nugget, Colorado, since you live there. You're full of golden nuggets. No surprise is interesting because the other ones are very simple and obvious, but obviously there's some hidden meaning. Can you give me a little hint? I don't want to ruin the book because I know everyone's going to really enjoy it. They got to get the 5 rules and really understand and practice. Get a bracelet of it, put the towels up. I love all of those reminders, recollections, and remembrances of how our lives better. But what does no surprise mean?
That's a great question. And no surprises, it has 3 key words to it: communicate, communicate, communicate. And throughout my career, I can't tell you how many times I got surprised because somebody didn't raise their hand and elevate the information to me, because I could have fixed it way easier if they'd have done that early on.
Yep.
But now it's a blazing fire and we got to bring in multiple resources to fix it. And I'm all about eliminating it at the spark level. And that's what no surprises is all about. And of course, my wife would tell you, you can surprise me all day long with diamonds and trips. But
yeah, my wife too.
But other than that, you need to communicate, and it's okay to over communicate and make sure that the right people know. And what I teach when I'm speaking on this topic to in a seminar or to coaching with a company is it's all about talking to the right person that can fix your problem. And of course, that spills right over into the no drama rule. Don't talk to somebody about whatever problem you're having. You're just creating drama if they can't fix it. Talk to the person that can fix it. You're having trouble with your computer, talk to the IT guy. If you're having trouble from operations, talk to somebody in operations. Don't just go around the building blabbing your mouth off about, what you're upset about. And again, that's no surprises. Is we continually, everybody gets surprised in if you're in a leadership role of any kind, and parents do too. You get surprised all the time by stuff you didn't know. And it's like the key to that is everybody needs to understand what's important to me and what I do need to know. So, for example, in the stores, if for some reason a store needed to shut down because of whatever reason, the power's out, the credit cards are down, we got to close the store. As the president of the company, I kind of need to know that.
You're right.
Kind of need.
Yes, sir. No surprises mean no assumption. Everybody knows if you assume, you make an ass out of you and me, from one of my favorite movies. Stephen Black, you held your own against Dave Liniger as far as legend goes. I am so blessed to have you on. Please promise us, we have so many other shows. The world needs more of your 5 rules, more of the explanation. Everyone, you're given homework today. Not only do you have to read the perfect 10, but you have to read the 5 rules. We went from 10 to 5. Dianna has us in store for us next. But please, if you want to learn more about Stephen, go to abrighterday.life. There's plenty of information on how to live a brighter life, abrighterday.life. Stephen, promise us you'll come back. Incredible interview, incredible insight. Keeping things simple. He's living in Golden Nugget, Colorado for a reason. Thanks so much. Stay warm.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks.
You're awesome.
Take care.
All right, patiently waiting in the green room, and she can hold her own. She's from Texas. Entrepreneur, keynote speaker, another author and mentor. Now, they were trying to really trip me up because Dianna Kokoszka, I hope I said that correctly or close to correct.
That's exactly right. You did it.
Right on. She's the CEO of Keller Williams Maps Coaching. She's a trainer at Keller Williams. And whether you heard earlier or not, why I'm making fun of myself, Dianna, you'll find this great, is the first time I interviewed Dave Liniger, I pronounced his name wrong, and they had the wrong notes in the book. And you should have seen his face when I was talking about it. So we have a very big OTT, streams on Apple TV, Airports Hotel Room. It's called Office Hours, the TV show. And I got to redeem myself with Dave, and I had all the correct information right in front of me. And somehow I give this great introduction, a legend in his own right, the chairman and founder of Keller Williams, I said, instead of RE/MAX. And you should have seen his face. It was incredible genius. That's why I keep Einstein behind me, to remember that wherever he is there, that I'm an idiot compared to him. So anyways, your book is becoming more. So we go from 5 to 10 to becoming more. You can't get better until you get different, which is my sales strategy, to make myself equal, then make myself better. And I think it's inherent in this. And this motivates everybody to take control, to take charge of their own story. And that story is so important. Where in your career did you realize that your personal story was so important?
I think it was back when I first started real estate. And by the way, I've been to Dave and Gail's house. I know Stephen Black. It was fun to listen to them because, Stephen Black and myself, we were on the inner circle of John Maxwell, right? And so John wrote the foreword for both of our books. As I was listening to these two men, I go, oh my goodness, you couldn't have had two better people on the show today with me, because we all know each other. And they're all great in their own right. And they all have a story. We all do. And every story is important. I think I first started learning about mine with my brother and sister, both having brain tumors, and realizing that their story was different. And of course, I grew up in the grocery business with my mom and dad owning a grocery store, the only one in a little town of about 3,000. And they put me over the magazine rack. I was 5 years old. And if a guy comes in and he looks at the magazine and he picks up a car magazine, well, I was instantly supposed to pick up every magazine that had a car on it and say, if you like that one, you should buy these too, right? And Dad said, okay, now if they start talking to you, you start telling a story about how you get paid a nickel for every magazine that you sell, and that you want to make at least a quarter today. So if they could buy 5 magazines, right, you got to go for it. So it was always upselling. By the time I was 8, the story was, hey, when they come through with a cart and they have ice cream in there, if they don't have caramel or chocolate topping or whipped cream or even cantaloupe, you upsell them to something else. And you always did it with the story. The other part, though, that they taught us is, he said, everybody has a story. And because we were in a small town, he said it was up to us to find out what their story was and how we could add value to their day, either with a word of encouragement or asking them about their story the next time they came into the store. So I think that's why story was so important.
Dianna, I love this. And I was laughing just a moment ago when you were talking about the newsstand. My very first job, my parents had a grocery store in Roseburg, Oregon. My very first job when I was about 5 or 6 years old was to stock the magazine rack. That was my job. The stock, and my payment, I didn't get a nickel. I got my choice of 5 of the comics. That's how I learned that. That's literally how I learned to read. Going way back, I would just pick up these comics and start to read, and I love that. And just that idea of the entrepreneurial spirit, just being able to, do something that produces something that I care about. The job was what the job was, but I got something out of it that I cared about, and that's where I think it gets to be really interesting with your work with your firm, and just the idea of being different. Most people, in my experience at work, they live somebody else's story.
Mm-hmm.
They're living somebody else's story, and as a consequence, they don't get what they want. They don't get what they want out of the process. How have you worked with your people? And I say your people just very colloquially because that's kind of the language we use for this. But how have you worked with your people so that they can begin to realize that something else is possible, that their story can be different, and they get something different as a consequence of that?
It's such a great question. I think the biggest thing is people need to realize that they are the creator, the character, and the crusader, the champion of their own story. So many people have given the pen to somebody else to write their story, and they're living a story by default, not by design. They live that story that someone else is writing and gosh, what kind of story is being written? It's one that serves the other person rather than serves ourselves. It reminds me of when my grandmother was reading to us when I was young, and she was reading David Copperfield. And there was a portion that said about being the hero of his own story. And that was yet to be told. And I went, the hero of my own story? For heaven's sakes. The only heroes I knew were like Superman and Captain America, and of course, Wonder Woman, because she was a woman. I chose her. And so I too read a lot of comic books. Yet it was about learning that I had to be the character of my story. I had to choose, because every character, every story, they have victims, villains, heroes. Some people have coaches and mentors like us. Yet too many people delve into being the victim of a story that someone else wrote, or the villain of a story that they don't even want to live out because they want to pick on somebody else because somebody picked on them. I've really worked to help people realize that you hold the pen. You decide what character you want to play, and it is your choice. It's your responsibility for the story that we live. And Stephen earlier said going from success to significance, that's part of the story, right? It's a story that we live out every day. And in the book, I recommend people, sounds awful, yet I want them to write their eulogy. What is it that you want to be known for when this time on earth is past? Too many people live a story and they don't know where it's going to end up. Well, let's start, like Stephen Covey said, start with the end in mind. Write out. When I realized I wanted to be known for somebody that made a difference and added value to people, it was so easy to get up every day and just live that story out every single day.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I grew up poor like Blaine, and my superhero was Batman because his superpower was being rich. And so that worked for me. It was a story I was going to write for myself. And it took great mentors like you and Maxwell and Bartlett to help guide me to a place that I wanted to be, and even utilizing some alternative mechanisms like NLP and other things. Dianna, you have to come back. Obviously, this is the Legends version of Office Hours on a Thursday afternoon, so we have to have you back. There's not enough time to delve into all the knowledge and wisdom and faith that all of you have for us. So I'll let you go right now if you promise to come back. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David. And you know what? You are living that hero of Batman. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Thank you for empowering so many people. We'll have you back on. Dianna, check out her book,
Bye.
Becoming More. She's taught hundreds of thousands. So you can become more with the right mindset, heart set, and handset. No better person to teach you how. Thanks, Dianna.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dianna.
Awesome. Bring on our next friend.
Weaving story into story here.
Hi, David.
Go ahead, Blaine.
Hi.
Introduce it, Sandro, for us. Oh, can you introduce him? I'm sorry, Blaine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
there.
I'm gonna let you introduce
you are on
Sandro
mute.
real quick. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Sandro, how are you doing? David's got a sneeze, I think. So welcome to the show.
I had to say goodbye to Julie, so I'm sorry. I'm flying out to Tucson.
Got it. Well, I was
Personal
just
time on
welcoming
this
Sandro.
famous
So
Yeah.
coming out of the conversation with Dianna, I mean, Sandro's CEO of Story, which is an AI generated or an AI powered MarTech organization here. So this is going to be a fascinating conversation. I love the segue here. I love how we're weaving this together today, David. This show is
we can think with
phenomenal.
Luca and Gigi. I don't know how they do it. With Luca
The
and
team
Gigi.
has been amazing.
So let's talk about the AI and data analytics that's involved with Story, and how important a true story is compared to today, what we can't determine to be true or not. What type of expertise is Story allowing with the technology that they have in the platform to create content and make it ready to publish?
Hi, guys, and thanks for having me here, and excellent transition from Dianna. Diana's speech, and I think a story is like a format that we humans are used to transfer information. Like send me a PDF now is okay. I think sending story is the medium that we want, that the recipient wants to receive. That's why probably we tell stories. And here at Story, we first build brand identity and maintain that consistency through the following storytelling, because people really want to identify and whether that's a personal brand or it's a business brand. They want to identify and maintain that consistency throughout the storytelling that follows this brand.
So with your platform, Sandro, the idea here is to take an idea and actually craft something that is tangibly different than what might otherwise be put together in a way that it's kind of like, wow, this is, yeah. So there's a wow factor that's kind of embedded in the process. Is that a correct assumption on my part?
Absolutely. We try to do that. First we do brand, and it's quite unusual for many people there. They have a description of what they do, but they cannot form like a brand guideline or brand identity. But people are doing amazing things. Many people are just introverts, cannot really describe, like, doing amazing job, but what's your vision? What's your values? What's your tone of voice? They would have no idea. And we try to help here with the AI and technology to build your brand guidelines. And following that, every message, every news, or every idea you have goes through that, and content is generated, and then you can moderate, collaborate with your coworkers internally or externally, and schedule and publish that and distribute it to social media or elsewhere.
One of the aspects of AI and generative AI and building a platform that is extremely successful is, how do we keep up with the growth in demand? You guys, after a month after launch, were the product of the week with Product Hunt. You gained over 8,000 users. I can't imagine the amount of stress that it put on a new organization and what stress it puts on you today, showing over 2,300% growth month over month. What's your biggest challenge with success that a lot of people don't anticipate when they dream about the type of success you have, but it actually becomes a reality? There's issues, and I would love for you to share with us one of those issues that you didn't or couldn't anticipate from the success that you're having, not the struggle.
That's a good question, actually. I think from success, new struggles emerge, like team is tired, exhausted, mentally especially, and you have to like become sort of psychologist or something and tackle that kind of issues, something like that. I'm not considering yet it as a success, but it's like an ongoing process. So
it's a glamorized challenge it is to be successful, Sandro. And creating Story itself as CEO is that dichotomy of be careful what you wish for, but we wish for you to have even more success. I'm looking forward to looking more into how, because we have so much content, utilize Story in order to effectuate this great marketing opportunity for everyone. And it's really blowing away status quo. It harnesses the power of AI, data analytics, and cutting edge solutions to revolutionize your brand and the content generation and publishing of that content, which causes significant struggles for most companies, like mine at least. We appreciate you coming on. We look forward to having you back. Keep telling the stories and helping other people tell the stories. Product of the week. Check out if you are a content creator or have content. If you're not checking out Story, you won't be able to tell the story in a competitive, efficient, effective way. Sandro, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Plus runner-up of the 2023 Golden Kitty Awards.
There you go.
That is wow. And it will never stop. I told you, be careful of all you wish for. Congratulations. That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What a great. All right, Double B. That's Bartlett, the #1 mentor in my life. He is changing not only my life, but so many other people around the world. Blaine Bartlett, what's your takeaway of the day?
I'm going to just pick up where we left off here. Story. We're all living a story. Yeah, you, David, me, I'm nothing more and you're nothing more than an idea that actually gets to be expressed in life. And that expression is the story of who I am. And I love the way that Dave actually positioned this. Yeah, Dad, I'm in the middle of Vietnam. There's tanks, there's airplanes, there's pythons, there's tigers, there's snakes. I love it here.
Yeah.
I get to live a story of my own creation. It doesn't have to be somebody else's story. And most people live somebody else's story. So that's the takeaway for me today, is finding ways to live your own story. Find a way to define success for yourself in a way that makes it different. And that kind of goes back to Diana's point. Yeah, don't be the same, be different. Success is organized around being different. So, story.
My takeaway is freedom, and defining your own freedom and living in that light and pursuing that light of the choices, the opportunities, options, and touches of favor in the protection, promotion, and love that you receive in that pursuit. And Dave is, to me, an icon, because we didn't even get into how he could not walk. He was a paraplegic and had to make a decision on which Dave or which story he was going to tell himself, with the freedom that he wanted, the independence that he gave not only all of us as a hero Air Force, but all of us as a hero in entrepreneurship, business, family, friends, and of course the books that he's writing, speaking around the world. We need more of these types of legends, and I'll have to include Blaine Bartlett in the fivesome of today. Appreciate all of you. Thank you, Blaine. I will see you next week on Office Hours, my buddy.
Absolutely, buddy. Have a good, safe flight. Fun.
Check out the premiere March 22nd of Office Hours Season 5, streaming on Apple TV, Reach TV at the airports, Roku, everywhere you can find Office Hours. I was amazed last night at the premiere party that we had, Unstoppable dinner that we created. More people watched Office Hours, the premiere, in the audience than Curb Your Enthusiasm. I thought that was a remarkable achievement for Office Hours at our home party. But more importantly, we're traveling all around. I'm booked 200 days of the year. I thought the 50 for 50 was hard raising money for Unstoppable. I'm on the 200 for 200. If you want to track us, David@dmeltzer.com. I'll be in Tucson tomorrow, Dallas the next day. We're doing meetups, VIP dinners, speeches. We have Friday training, as always, for over 24 years, tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Come and join us. That looks like a meetup at Saturday at the Renaissance Hotel in Dallas at 11 a.m. Central Time. We'll be in Tucson at the Maryval Resort. David@dmeltzer.com. If you can't keep up with us, I don't. It's 949-298-2905. Text me. You'll be alerted in every city and every place I'm going. 949-298-2905. I want to thank Gigi. I want to thank Raluca. This was an all-star cast, and you both produced this extraordinary well. Remember, most importantly, though, be more interested than interesting. Be kind to your future self. Do good deeds. Me and Einstein, we love you. Take care.